I sat in my cramped studio apartment, staring at another bowl of instant ramen, while my phone buzzed with yet another Venmo request from Danny. 3 years. 3 whole years of funding my little brother's lifestyle, while I lived paycheck to paycheck. The irony was not lost on me that, while I was eating 10-cent noodles, Danny was probably enjoying his usual Thursday night dinner at some upscale restaurant downtown. My chest tightened with that familiar mix of love and resentment that had become my constant companion. Tonight felt different, though. Tonight, I was finally ready to say no, and I had no idea that this decision would completely shatter my family's perception of who the real villain was in this story. Before I tell you how everything changed, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Hit that like button if you have ever felt taken advantage of by family, and subscribe, because this story has a twist you will not see coming. Now, let me take you back to where it all began 3 years ago. Let me paint you a picture of how this mess started. I am Mike, 28 years old, and I have always been the responsible one in our family. While my little brother Danny was the golden child who could do no wrong, I was the one who studied hard, got good grades, and landed a decent job as a software engineer right out of college. Danny, on the other hand, was the charmer who coasted through life on his good looks and natural charisma. 3 years ago, Danny had just graduated from college with a marketing degree and was living back home with our parents, Linda and Robert. I remember the exact day everything started because it changed my life forever. It was a rainy Tuesday evening when Danny showed up at my apartment, and I could tell immediately that something was wrong. His usually confident demeanor was completely shattered, and there were actual tears in his eyes. "Mike, I am in serious trouble," he said, collapsing onto my small couch. "I racked up $8,000 in credit card debt during college, and the minimum payments are killing me. Mom and Dad found out, and Dad is furious. He said if I cannot figure this out by the end of the month, I am on my own." My heart broke seeing my little brother like that. Despite our differences, I loved Danny more than anyone in the world. He had always been the fun one, the one who made everyone laugh, and seeing him so defeated made me want to fix everything immediately. "How did you rack up $8,000? I asked, though. I was already mentally calculating how much of my house down payment savings I could spare. "I do not know, man. Food, clothes, going out with friends. College is expensive, and I guess I was not paying attention to the balance." He looked up at me with those same puppy dog eyes that had gotten him out of trouble our entire lives. "Mike, you are the only one who can help me. I promise, just give me 6 months to find a good job, and I will pay you back every single penny." The desperation in his voice convinced me. I thought about all the times Danny had been there for me when we were kids, how he would always include me in his friend groups, even though I was the nerdy older brother. This was my chance to be the hero, to be the big brother who saved the day. I ended up giving Danny not just the $8,000 for his debt, but an additional $3,000 to help him get started with his own apartment. I figured if he was going to be independent, he needed a proper foundation. The look of relief and gratitude on his face made every penny feel worth it. When I called our parents to let them know I had helped Danny out, their reaction was everything I had hoped for and more. "Oh, Mike, you are such a wonderful big brother," Mom said, her voice full of pride. "Danny is so lucky to have someone like you looking out for him." Dad was even more effusive in his praise. "Son, what you did shows real character. Taking care of family is what real men do, and I am proud to call you my son." For the first time in my adult life, I felt like I had truly earned my parents' respect and admiration. Danny seemed genuinely grateful too, constantly thanking me and promising that this was just a temporary situation. He assured me that within 6 months he would have a great job and would start paying me back immediately. I helped Danny find a nice one-bedroom apartment across town for $1,200 a month, and even bought him some basic furniture to get started. Watching him set up his new place, talking excitedly about his job prospects and his plans for the future, I felt proud and optimistic. This was going to be the fresh start Danny needed to become the successful adult I knew he could be. The first few months seemed promising. Danny was actively job hunting, sending out resumes, and going to interviews regularly. However, as month 7 rolled around, then month 8, I started noticing some troubling patterns that made my stomach churn with growing unease. Every month, Danny would call with the same story about how tough the job market was, how he was getting close to landing something big, and how he just needed a little more time and support. The monthly transfers started at $1,200 for rent, but gradually crept up to include groceries, gas, money car insurance, and what he called networking expenses. "Mike, I know this is taking longer than expected," Danny would say during our weekly phone calls, "but I am getting really close to landing this amazing position at a digital marketing agency. The hiring manager loves me, but they are just taking their time making decisions. I just need to keep up appearances. You know I cannot show up to interviews looking broke." That explanation made sense to me initially, but by month 10, when Danny still had not landed anything substantial, I started feeling the first real pangs of doubt. The financial strain was becoming noticeable in my own life. While Danny was living in his nice apartment, I was eating ramen noodles and generic cereal to make ends meet. I had completely abandoned my dream of buying a house, and my savings account was looking dangerously low. The first major red flag came during month 11, when I decided to surprise Danny with a visit to his apartment. I wanted to take him out to dinner and check in on his mental health, knowing that long-term unemployment could be really tough on someone's self-esteem. What I found when I knocked on his door made my blood pressure spike. Danny answered wearing brand new Nike sneakers that I knew cost at least $150. And when I walked into his apartment, I noticed several shopping bags from expensive clothing stores scattered around his living room. "Danny, what is all this?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm. "Oh, this stuff. I got some of it on clearance, and some was gifts from friends," he replied quickly, but I could see the panic flash across his eyes. "You know I have been feeling really depressed about the job situation, so I treated myself to a few small things to keep my spirits up." I wanted to believe him, but something felt off. When I opened his refrigerator to grab us some drinks, it was fully stocked with expensive organic Foodcraft beer and gourmet snacks. This was not the refrigerator of someone who was struggling financially. When I called our parents that week to express my concerns, their response frustrated me beyond belief. "Mike, sweetheart, you are being too hard on," Danny Mom said in that dismissive tone she used whenever she thought I was overreacting. "The job market really is tough right now, especially for someone his age. Danny is young. He needs time to figure things out." Dad was even less sympathetic to my concerns. "Mike, your brother is going through a rough patch. As his older brother, it is your responsibility to help him through this. You have a good job you can afford to help family. Do not be selfish." Their words stung because I had always tried to be the good son, the responsible one, and now I was being made to feel guilty for questioning whether my help was being used appropriately. Year 2 brought even more concerning developments. Danny finally landed a part-time job at an electronics store, making about $1,800 a month, which should have significantly reduced his need for my financial support. However, instead of becoming more independent, Danny explained that his part-time income just was not enough to cover all his expenses, and he still needed an additional $800 from me each month. "The thing is, Mike, this part-time job is just a stepping stone," he explained during one of our phone conversations. "I am still interviewing for better positions, and I need to maintain a certain standard of living so potential employers take me seriously. Plus, I am trying to save up for a reliable car so I can expand my job search radius." Again, his reasoning seemed logical on the surface, but my gut was telling me something was not right. The breaking point came when I was scrolling through Instagram one evening and saw Danny's story from Miami Beach. There he was lounging by a pool at what looked like a very expensive resort with a beautiful girl I had never seen before, both of them holding tropical drinks and looking like they did not have a care in the world. I immediately called Danny my hands, shaking with anger and confusion. "Danny, what the hell are you doing in Miami? And who is paying for this trip?" There was a long pause before he answered, and when he did, his voice had that defensive edge I remembered from when we were kids, and he got caught doing something wrong. "Mike, calm down. Okay, my girlfriend Jessica paid for the whole trip. She got a bonus at work and wanted to treat me to a vacation because she knows how stressed I have been about the job situation. I did not spend any of your money. I swear." I wanted to believe him, but the coincidence seemed too convenient. How had he found a girlfriend who was wealthy enough to fund expensive vacations for a guy she was casually dating, and why had he never mentioned this Jessica before if they were serious enough for her to drop thousands of dollars on him? When I brought up my concerns with our parents again, their response was even more dismissive than before. "Mike, you are being paranoid and controlling," Mom said, sounding genuinely annoyed with me. "Danny is allowed to have a personal life and relationships. Just because you help him financially does not mean you own him." Dad was more direct in his criticism. "Son, you need to mind your own business. Danny is not a child anymore, and frankly, your attitude toward him is becoming obsessive and unhealthy." Year 3 was when everything came crashing down in the most spectacular and painful way imaginable. Danny had been promoted to a supervisory position at the electronics store and was now making $2,800 a month. Yet he still claimed he needed $600 from me each month to maintain his basic standard of living. "I am really close to being completely independent, Mike," he assured me during our monthly money conversation. "I just need to save up enough for a reliable car and build up a small emergency fund. Once I have those things in place, I will not need your help anymore, and I can start paying you back." I had heard variations of this speech so many times that I could have recited it myself, but I continued to send the money because I desperately wanted to believe that my little brother was telling me the truth. Everything changed on a Saturday afternoon in March when I decided to surprise our parents with a visit. As I pulled into their driveway, I nearly crashed into their mailbox when I saw what was parked in front of their house. There, gleaming in the afternoon sun, was a brand-new silver BMW sedan with temporary dealer plates. My heart started racing as I walked toward the house, and my worst fears were confirmed when I saw Danny walking out the front door, car keys in hand, heading straight for the BMW. "Danny, whose car is that?" I called out, even though I already knew the answer. Danny froze, like a deer in headlights, when he saw me. For a few seconds, he just stood there, clearly trying to formulate an explanation that would make sense. "Oh, this. It is Jessica's car. She let me borrow it to drive over here," he said. But his voice lacked any conviction. "Danny, that car has dealer plates on it. That is a brand new car, and you just walked out of Mom and Dad's house with the keys like you own it." The jig was up, and we both knew it. Danny's shoulders sagged in defeat, and for the first time in 3 years, I saw something resembling genuine shame in his eyes. "Okay, fine. I bought the car, but Mike, I can explain everything if you just give me a chance." I was beyond furious, but I was also curious to hear what possible explanation he could give for buying a $30,000 car while claiming he needed my money to survive. Over the next hour, sitting in our parents' living room with Mom and Dad, listening to every word Danny confessed to a level of deception that left me feeling physically sick. Not only had he been lying about his living expenses, but he had been systematically manipulating our entire family for 3 years. The apartment I thought cost $1,200 a month, Danny had been living in a luxury complex where his rent was actually $2,500 a month. The part-time job that barely covered his expenses, he had been working there for over a year and had saved up nearly $15,000, which he claimed he needed to keep for future security. But the most crushing revelation was yet to come. Danny admitted that he had been dating Jessica for over a year and that she was not some wealthy benefactor funding his lifestyle. She was a nurse who made decent money, But Danny had been using my money to impress her with expensive dates, gifts, and trips, making her believe he was financially successful. "I never asked you to give me money," Danny said, and I could not believe the audacity of his defense. "You offered to help, and I accepted. I never forced you to do anything. You lied to me about everything." I shouted, my voice cracking with 3 years of suppressed frustration and betrayal. "You have been living like a king while I ate ramen noodles and gave up my dreams of buying a house. You make good money, Mike. It is not like my asking for help was putting you on the street or anything." That comment broke something fundamental inside me. In that moment, I realized that Danny had never seen me as his loving, self-sacrificing big brother. To him, I was just a convenient ATM machine that he could access whenever he wanted something. "Danny, I am done. Effective immediately, I will not be giving you another penny." The reaction was swift and brutal. Danny immediately started crying. Not the genuine tears of remorse I might have expected, but the calculated tears of manipulation he had perfected since childhood. "Mike, you cannot just cut me off like this." "What am I supposed to do?" "Figure it out the same way every other adult in the world does," I replied, standing up to leave. But the real betrayal was still coming. Within hours of my confrontation with Danny, my phone started ringing. First it was Mom, then Dad, then Danny again, all of them tag-teaming me with guilt trips and accusations that made my head spin. "Mike, how could you be so heartless?" Mom said, her voice full of disappointment. Danny came over here crying, saying, "You just abandoned him out of nowhere. He did not tell you that he has been lying to me for 3 years about everything I asked, incredulous." Danny explained that he might have exaggerated some things, but that does not justify you suddenly pulling the rug out from under him like this. Dad was even more direct in his condemnation. "Mike, I raised you better than this. You do not just abandon family when they need you most. Danny is still young and figuring things out, but you are supposed to be the mature one. I have given him $47,000 over 3 years, Dad. How is that abandoning him? And now you are acting like some kind of loan shark, keeping track of every penny like Danny owes you something. Family does not work that way, son." The final blow came when Dad said the words that would haunt me for months afterward. "Mike, I am genuinely disappointed in you. You have become stingy and selfish, and frankly, I am ashamed to call you my son right now." The first month after cutting Danny off was the loneliest period of my entire adult life. My parents would not return my phone calls. Family group chats went silent whenever I tried to participate, and Danny was telling everyone who would listen that I had cruelly abandoned him in his time of need. But something interesting happened during that month of isolation. Without the constant financial drain of supporting Danny's lifestyle, I was able to think clearly about the situation for the first time in 3 years. I started documenting everything, gathering bank statements, screenshots of text messages, and creating a detailed spreadsheet of every penny I had given Danny. The numbers were staggering. Over the course of 3 years, I had given Danny a total of $47,000. That was more than most people make in an entire year, and I had essentially handed it over to subsidize my brother's party lifestyle while sacrificing my own financial future. More importantly, I started taking screenshots of Danny's social media activity, which told a very different story than the one he had been selling to our family. There were photos of expensive dinners, new clothes, weekend trips, and a lifestyle that was completely incompatible with someone who was genuinely struggling financially. After 6 weeks of silence from my family, I decided to take action. I wrote a detailed letter explaining the entire situation, including specific dollar amounts, dates, and examples of Danny's deception. But I did not just send it to my parents. I sent it to every single person in our extended family, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and family friends. The letter was not angry or vindictive. Instead, I tried to present the facts calmly and objectively, letting the evidence speak for itself. I explained how I had been living on a shoestring budget while Danny enjoyed a luxury lifestyle funded by my sacrifices. I included photos of Danny's apartment complex, his new car, and screenshots of his social media posts showing expensive purchases and trips. Most importantly, I addressed the accusation that I was being stingy and selfish. I pointed out that truly stingy people do not give away $47,000 to help family members, and that setting boundaries after being systematically deceived and manipulated is not selfish, it is self-preservation. The response was immediate and overwhelming. My phone started ringing within hours of sending the letter, but this time the calls were coming from family members who wanted to apologize and express their support. My grandmother was the first to call, and her words brought tears to my eyes. "Mike, honey, I had no idea what Danny had been doing to you. What you did for your brother was incredibly generous, and you have nothing to be ashamed of." Uncle Tom, Dad's older brother, was more direct in his support. "Mike, I always thought there was something fishy about Danny's story. Nobody stays unemployed for that long, unless they want to. You did the right thing, and anyone who says otherwise is an idiot." Even some of Danny's college friends started reaching out after seeing my letter, sharing their own stories about how Danny had borrowed money from them over the years and never paid it back. Apparently, I was not the only person Danny had been taking advantage of, just the most successful target. The turning point came when Aunt Sarah, Mom's younger sister, confronted my parents directly after reading my letter. She later called to tell me about the conversation. "Mike, I told your parents that they owe you a massive apology," she said. "I asked them how they would feel if someone had stolen $47,000 from their bank account, because that is essentially what Danny did to you." 2 weeks after sending the letter, my phone rang with a call from Dad. I almost did not answer because I was not ready for another round of accusations and guilt trips, but something told me this call would be different. "Mike, son, your mother and I owe you an apology." Dad said, his voice heavy with emotion. "We had no idea how bad the situation really was. Danny told us you were just helping with basic expenses, not funding his entire lifestyle. Dad, I tried to tell you multiple times that something was not right, but you would not listen to me. I know, son, and that is on us. We were so focused on protecting Danny that we forgot to protect you. What he did was wrong, and what we did by not listening to you was even worse." Mom got on the phone next, and I could hear that she had been crying. "Mike, sweetheart, I am so sorry. I feel terrible about the things we said to you. You are not stingy or selfish. You are the most generous person I know, and we failed you as parents." Their apology meant everything to me, but the real test was still coming. What would happen when Danny inevitably came crawling back, asking for help again? I did not have to wait long to find out.